G'day Cobbers, Stamped here from the Fantasy Grounds forums and Discord channel, and continuing our project to build a rule set over Christmas. And I'm working with the White Lies rule set, and for me it's Boxing Day already, so really ploughing into this. Done a bunch of steps already, but there's so much to go. I don't think 2 days is going to be achievable for this particular rule set, but we're going to give it a real crack, and we'll see where we're in that. Maybe we'll just keep playing on after the 2 days, and we'll just get this thing done. So right now I'm going to do our weapons. So for weapons in the White Lies system, you can see our character sheet here. This is how they've got weapons that will name, to hit, damage. So these are bonuses. To hit as a bonus, damage is just the damage roll, rate of fire, number of shots that you can shoot in one round, range, simple range modifiers for going longer, ammo, that's the amount of ammo that your single clip holds, and notes. And what we're probably going to try and do is get this information onto our character sheet. I thought about whether we try and get type on there as well, but it doesn't really need to be there. I think most people can work out that a blackjack is a melee weapon, and a automatic pistol is, or a semi-automatic pistol is, a ranged weapon. But we might have to have a couple of extra fields for range and things like that. So what we're going to do is, I've been experimenting in another rule set that I'm working on, in not creating a separate class for weapons, actually using our items as weapons. And so in a lot of the D&D rule sets, what they do is, when you add a weapon, which is still an item, but when you add a weapon to, you add a weapon item to your inventory, it creates a new object in your attacks field, in your attacks list. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is create a filtered list for my weapons, and it's just going to display a totally different set of attributes. So we're going to display these attributes rather than the attributes that are shown in your inventory list. So let's give that a crack. I guess the very first thing that we want to do when we do that is we actually want to extend the items, the core RPG items. So I'm just going to duplicate my skills data type here, and I'm going to click on the frame, the window class. I'm going to call this items, and we're going to change the link here to items link. We're going to go through and update all of these. Window classes, items, and what else we've got? Name, close record sheet button, record sheet description. Alright, they're all good, but what we need is probably we need a window, what do we call it, a sub window in here instead. So we're going to get rid of description. We will just drag it off to the side for the moment. What we're going to do is get a sub window, drop that in here instead, about here, because we need to specify the type first. So we've got a sub window here, and we're going to call this sub item. We're going to create another one. Let's lock that. We'll create a duplicate. So we'll click on it, Control C, Control V, and we'll call this one sub armor. And we'll do it again. Control C, Control V, stick it back in place, and call this one sub weapon. Who knows, there's every possibility that we'll need some additional ones at a later stage. Let's lock these fields up. What we're going to do next is put a string cycler in here. And the string cycler, looks like it's going to be a bit big for the amount of space I've allowed for it. So let's just fill it out to start with. So we're going to have 3 items in there. General equipment, we'll call it equipment. gear. We'll call it gear. And the value is gear. Got another one called armor. And we've got another one called weapons. Alright, we'll do that. And what we need to do is we'll give it a label. So our label is over here. The text is type and type label, and we're going to make it so that long, and we're going to lock it, and we're going to grab this one, we're going to make it longer, we're going to give it a name just called type, and we'll deal with the frame a little bit later. For the moment, what we can do is go field. We'll go something like box and black. Let's adjust these, make them a little bit less tall. Let's go 215, and we'll start them at 76. 215, starting at 76. 215, starting at 76. Next, we'll just shuffle these up. Where are we going? Okay, and what we're going to do now is make some window classes to go in these. So we need 3 more window classes. So they're going to go over here on the right. We're going to have okay, so 3 window classes. We're going to have one here called item gear, and we're going to make that. We'll get this one set up properly first. So this one's pretty straightforward. I think it probably needs what does it need? Probably just needs a description. So if we go back to our items, we'll grab this field here, Control C, and we dump it in here. Now this field here is about 248 by 276. Actually, let's check those again. If we go back to our items, we want our frames need to be the same size as this, so 215, 269. 215, 269, and our description needs to fit inside that, so it's going to be at most, we can make it the same, 215 and 269, and we go 0, 0 because we want it to line up, and we need to give it a new frame, but we haven't got one just yet, so I need to make some new field darks and field lights. Let's lock that one in. It really doesn't need anything more than that, but what it does remind me is that over here I do need some other fields. So I guess I'm going to have to probably make this sheet longer. So let's make this another 30 pixels taller. 330, 330, because we want to grab these 3 fields. We're going to unlock them, drop them down 30 pixels, and we need to create 2 more fields that are pretty much common to all of them, and they are weight and cost. So let's lock these up, let's call the first one here cost, and it's cost label, and weight. I'm not sure that we really want the semicolons anyway. We've got them for now. Weight label. Okay, and then we want to add in some fields for those. Now I think that we're just going to put straight number fields in for these. So these in here, 30, 60. We're going to call this one cost. Going to line it up with that one. Copy it, Control C, Control V, drop it over here, and we'll call this one weight. Okay, so getting there, cost and weight label, need to move all of these up. I wonder if we grab all of those and group them. I wonder if we can move them as a group. Not really. Something is happening. See if we can push these ones back this time. No, we can't. I think that I might have had one of them locked or the other locked, and that was what was stopping them from all moving up together. Alright, so we'll lock those for the moment. Okay, now what we need to do is we've got item gear. Just for the hell of it, just for the moment, what we're going to do is duplicate this one. And we're not going to do anything else to it. So we're going to get item gear, create a copy, and our copy will become... Oh, why did that do that? Let's remove that one. For some reason, perhaps our description field hadn't changed. Let's try and copy it again. No, I wonder if I have to close it. There we go. Interesting. Okay, item armor. And the last one that we've got is, so we'll copy gear again, create copy, and we've got this one will be called item weapon. Okay, so what we need to do now is put some code in our cycler so that when our cycler changes, it sets one of these as visible or not. So we're going to go back to items, and that annoys me. I probably want to rename these, relabel these, because I like to try and keep it as consistent as possible, and so items should become items. And then that annoys me other times because I go, oh, some words are more appropriate with S's in them and some are less appropriate with S's in them, and like gear is plural, and then you have skill and skills, and I don't know, silly things that annoy me at times, and I find I'm doing inconsistently, and it's probably the fact that I'm doing them inconsistently mostly that annoys me. Okay, so we'll kill those, as in we'll close them, and we'll go to our string cycler, and I'm going to put some code in here that I've used previously. Alright, now I've got to use super on init on my string cycler because string cyclers have on init code that runs in them already. And now my on value changed. So get child, and it's just going to change these to type, replace all. So get child type. If it's nil, then type set value as equipment. We're going to change all instances of equipment to gear. Alright, and weapon and armor. Did we go with weapon or weapons? Weapon. Alright, we're going with weapon and armor. Okay, so subgear. We've got sub-item. So let's change sub-item. Let's rename that and call it sub-gear. And then we're going to do, so we've got sub-gear, sub-armor, sub-weapon. Let's check our code here. Got sub-gear, sub-weapon, sub-armor. Hopefully this code will work as it is from there. So let's get rid of this field. Let's push this out and see what happens. Now we don't need to create a new data type in the menu on the right because items already exist as part of Core RPG. So reloading this, now we've done a whole lot of stuff in that one go and we haven't tested it, so there's plenty of opportunities here for some areas to come up. Now we haven't actually done here on the character sheet. What we've done is stuff here in items. So let's create a new item. Okay, so that's loaded up. Not quite. What have we done differently here? So we need to have a look at the actual items, frames names or things like that. Now we've changed the record sheet, so that's why that one has updated, but none of our other changes have come over. So let's just dive into the Core RPG code and see what we got. Okay, so we're going to search for reference to item, and we're going to do that in Core RPG. Reason reference to item because that'll tell us. So it's definitely called items. Item, no, okay. So the data map is item. So item. So this is where all that plural bits and pieces, different people do different things. Jumping back into our wizard, what we're going to try and do is just rename this as item instead of items, and let's see what that does when we push it. Okay, I've reloaded the table, open up items, new item. Hey, awesome. Now, we don't actually have any content down here. Gear, armor, weapons. So that's not working. So we've got gear, armor, weapons. Okay, so that's all good. I think we're going to change weapons to weapon. Makes more sense there in terms of that label. But also our frames here are not loading up. Let me have a think about that. So I think we have to do some things like we need to, I think we want to set gear to be visible, so that's false, and we want to set armor to be invisible to start with, true, and weapon to be invisible to start with. We also wanted to change this to the display text here to weapon. Okay, and what we're going to do next is sub-gear, sub-weapon, sub-armor, weapon, armor, that's all good. Okay, I think what we have to also do with these is we need to activate them. True. Fast in it is true. Oh, we're going to set the class, right? So this is sub-gear. So the class for this one is actually going to be called items. We're going to rename it. So the class is going to be called item gear. And let's rename this to item gear. Okay, one down. Let's go to the next sub-window, armor. Set it to activate true. Class name is item armor. Fast in it is true. And that means that the fields here will populate even if that window is not active. And that's important for the locking mechanism later on. And we want to set this one to be invisible, true. We already did that one, good. And then we need to go to items, armor, and change it to item armor. And close that one. And then the final one is sub-weapon. So activate true. Fast in true. Class name, item, weapon. And make sure it's set to invisible to start with. Great. Now let's go to items weapon. Change it to item weapon. Alright. Let's publish this. Let's reload. Let's see what happens now. Items. New item. Okay. Better. We're picking up some Core RPG with settings here. Or possibly. Okay. Because we created the other one, it remembered its size. So we can nuke this one. But anyway, so we've got gear, which has a description field, plus cost and weight. Let's change it to armor. Okay. And of course, these are all the same, right? So what we'll do, this should actually be, alright, now they're all actually the same. So now what we're going to do is edit those fields. Alright, so we're going to switch back into the builder, the wizard, and this is item weapon. We're going to shrink this description field, so we're just going to make it 100 for the moment. So we have to drop it down here, 115. Alright, we got some extra fields up here. The extra fields that we need are from our character sheet that we were looking at. So we're going to need, so we've got name, we need to hit, damage. So let's put some labels and number fields. Copy them from here over to here. Okay, we can lock those in place. Now this one is going to be called to hit. And this field's going to be called to hit. This field is going to be called damage. Well, sorry, damage, that's the text, but I actually haven't relabeled it. So it needs to be called damage label. And I need to do the same for the to hit label. Is it essential? No, but it's neuter. And then it lets you know what you're doing later on. Okay, and then obviously that field needs to be a bit wider, which may mean that we have to adjust these field sizes. Let's move this over 5 pixels. Could probably go even more. Let's do, and we'll move this one 5 the other way as well. Let's see where that, see where they go. Okay, now this field should become a damage field. And actually, the damage field is probably actually a string field, not a number field, because it'll be something like 2d6 plus 2 or 1d8, 1d12. So we're going to nuke that one. And we're going to put a string field there. Put a string field over here. Line it up here. We're going to make it taller though. Height 30, same as the other one. Width 60. We're going to put a frame on it. Anyway, it doesn't look right, but it will look right once we're done with it. Where's that one's vertical height is 2. We'll set this one to 2. We're going to set the underline to nothing. Okay, it's a damage field, and we need to call it damage because we deleted it. It's not going to have its name. Alright, rate of fire, range. Let's duplicate these. Rate of fire. And range. range probably needs to be a number. Okay, and so we're going to delete this one. We unlock it, delete it. Going to copy this one. We'll drop this one. Move it over here. That one's at 201 and this one's at 201. Sweet. We'll lock it. Now range is just range. And range is range label. Great. Now we need ammo and we need type. So copy these. Bump them in there. Call this one ammo. Ammo label. This one is called ammo. This one is called type. And type label. And this one we're going to delete. 20162. I'm going to drag a string cycler in here. 30, 60, 201, 62. This is going to be called type. The collection choices are label is ranged, value is ranged. Next one is melee, melee. Alright, easy peasy, and that's it. Let's publish that. We're probably going to wrap this video up at that point once we test this, because I've been doing this a long time today and I need a break in between videos to catch my breath and see how things are going. So let's go back into items. Our new item here, I'm going to change it to a weapon, and that all worked first go. I'm going to adjust these alignments here or whatever, but that actually worked. So we're on the right track. So this is awesome. We're just plugging away bit by bit, and we're working closer and closer to our finished product. Awesome. I'll see you guys again soon.